Hello and welcome to Q&A with Pilar Palomero, the writer and director of Las Niñas, Schoolgirls, the award-winning film showing at AMPLIFY Festival as part of AMPLIFY Festival, an online film festival brought to you in collaboration with Cambridge Film Festival, Cornwall Film Festival, Brighton Cine City and Bath Film Festival as well. I'm delighted to welcome Pilar Palomero to AMPLIFY to join me for a short Q&A about Schoolgirls. Pilar, welcome along.
Hi, Jenny. Hi. I don't see you. I'm sorry, I don't see you. I don't know if everything is okay.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, I see you.
Excellent. Nothing like a bit of turning it off and turning it back on again. And there we are. But yeah, thank you so much. So you're in Barcelona. Thank you for joining us. And we'll chat for a little bit and then we'll take some questions from the audience. So just to mention now, if anyone watching would like to post their questions, please either type the question in the chat box or tweet at AMPLIFY Film, and we'll answer your questions. We'll get the questions at the end. So just to start off, Pilar, for people who've watched Las Niñas or for people who haven't yet seen it, either way, it would be lovely to hear in your own words how you would describe the story and explain why it was a story that you wanted to tell.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you to AMPLIFY and to all of you, and also to the people that are watching or will watch or watch the film already. It's my pleasure to be here in the Q&A. And well, Las Niñas is a film that speaks about, well, it's a coming of age, moreover, about a teenage girl, or a little girl becoming a teenager during the year 92 in Spain. And it's a film that it's very autobiographical, even though I'm not Celia, the main character, but all this universe in which she's living in, it has to do a lot with my own education and my own experiences when I was the same age, when I was 12 years old. And I wanted to portray how it was to grow up in this society for the woman of my generation. That was the main idea when I started to think about the project and to think about the film I wanted to shoot.
And the year it's set in is really important. Can you explain why that year is significant?
Well, the fact that happens that the story takes place in the year 92, it's a little bit. I mean, it's not chosen at random, but at the same time, it's a coincidence because the year 92 in Spain was very special, and in the general memory in society of people of my age and older generations, they all remember about it because it was the year of the Olympic Games of Barcelona, also the year of the Expo of Sevilla. And it was a time that Spain was living a sense of euphoria somehow, no? Finally, society felt that we could live without all this heavy weight of the past of the Spanish recent history, and Spain was already like a modern country and was liberated. But what I remember of the year 92, and mostly what I started to remember when I was writing the script, is that the year 92 was not that year we were all thinking about liberation and about modernity. What I lived, and also what many people of my surrounding lived, is that a society that was very much still in the past, no, with a very conservative way of thinking, also with a lot of traditions that were still important, and that for the year 92 were very too conservative. No, I don't know if I explained it very well.
No, that's great. And so Celia, the main character, her sort of world, her class is shifted at school when there's a new girl. Can you tell us a bit about the character of Brisa?
Yes, Brisa is a character that somehow she starts the click on Celia's trip, no, or journey. She's not. I mean, she's the catalyzer, but she's not the reason why Celia starts this trip. But she's the person that makes her to open a little bit her eyes to adulthood. She comes from Barcelona, and this is not, I mean, what I wanted to portray with this, it was the difference between a very big city, like for example, Madrid or Barcelona, that it was the two big cities in Spain at the, right now and also in the past. And the difference is with other cities in Spain, that they were much bigger 30 years ago. Nowadays, everything's very similar. Even in a very small village, we have access to everything through internet, and also communication has changed. But in the year 92, we were still a little bit, I mean, it was 30 years ago already, it was a long time. And we didn't have access to much or so easy to some kind of music, or, well, not music, to the CDs or maybe to the tapes. And also mentality in the bigger city was also more, I mean, it was more easy to be surrounded by more freedom if the place you come from, it was bigger, no? So, and that's what I wanted to have with Brisa's character. She's the one that she explains her parents are not married and everything is okay. And she's totally out, she comes totally from a different education that one that Celia is receiving at the school and also at her house.
That was one thing that I found really interesting is, as you say, the technological changes in the past 30 years or so. So none of the girls obviously have mobile phones, internet, and it's a reminder of how much the girls sort of learn about growing up from their friendship group or from their older siblings, their friends' older siblings. Did any of the young cast members comment on that sort of lack of, being able to just look anything up on the internet, which they have now? Have audience members, younger audience members, commented on that lack of access to knowledge through the technology, the lack of technology?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that? Yeah.
Yeah, if I notice on the girls, on the actresses, you mean?
Yes, yeah. Did they comment on that at all?
Yes, because we didn't have rehearsals. Actually, they didn't read the script. And what we did, instead of having like a traditional rehearsal, it was more about gathering together, and we were having some lessons. I mean, they were not really lessons, but how was the year 92? And how did we dress up, or how did we put our makeup on, and how the life was back in the 92. And of course, I mean, the fact that we live without cell phones, they already knew because of their parents. And they didn't know also how to make work radio cassette, and things like this. But I think it's something they know, but I don't think they can really imagine how is it like to live without internet connection all day long. But I have to say that Andrea Fandos, the girl that plays Celia, she didn't have cell phone yet because she was too young. She was only 11 when she was shooting the film. And in Spain, I mean, it's not, I mean, this is like something more or less. Teenagers get their first cell phone around 13, 12, 13. Yeah, so Celia didn't have any, no
Okay.
Instagram, no Twitter, nothing.
Okay. I was going to ask actually about the casting because Andrea Fandos is such a, her presence on screen, she's mesmerizing because she manages to, it's quite a still performance at times, but you can tell that there is so much internal questioning going on. She manages to communicate so much with her eyes. Can you talk us through the casting process for her and for the other girls in the cast?
Yes. Well, about Celia, her eyes and the way she looks to things, what was really made me to fall in love with her and to feel I found the right Celia for the film. And I met her because she was acting in a short film of Ignacio La Sierra, that he is a director from Zaragoza. And I saw her in the short film and I really like her, but she was too young when I started the casting, because we started casting 7 months before shooting. So I think she was 10. And Celia's character at the beginning, in the first drafts of the script, was 13, 14. So the first time I cast Andrea, I liked her very much, but she was too young to play Celia. And 3 months later, we called her again, and think I don't know, fate or whatever. she pegó el estirón, as we say in Spanish, like she grew up very, very
Right,
fast.
she shut up.
Yes, and she was still not looking like a 13-year-old girl. So this is the moment that I decided to make Celia younger, 1 year younger, and to adapt the script, because
Right.
I really had the feeling that she was Celia, that the way she was moving, the way her innocence and the tenderness, I really felt it was her. And then for the other girls, we made this very long casting during 7-month process, and it was difficult but funny. It was a very intense job that I did with Gisela Crem, the casting director. And what we looked, it was we were looking for girls that that we felt they were able to be very authentic in front of the camera, and that they can be, that they were a little bit similar to the characters in the script, or also we adapt the script to the way they were. And I don't know, for example, with Brisa, which is played by Zoe Arnau, that she is from Barcelona, it happened also a little bit like with Andrea, that I love her and I fall in love with her because I also, when I saw her, I thought I found her, no, because she had mystery. She's like very elegant, and I don't know, she's sophisticated. And it was my first experience in a casting, and I have to say it was one of the part that I enjoyed the most, the process.
Oh wow. And I love the fact that you adapted the script to the characters, and it feels so there were scenes that were quite improvised. Is that right? There were elements that the actresses brought into the scenes.
Yes, I mean, they didn't read the script. Only the adults playing roles, like for example, the Nan or Natalia de Molina, they did have the script and they read it, and I talked with them about it. But the girls didn't read it because I wanted them to be very free and to live the moment. But the funny thing is that the film now, the film finished, no, it's very similar to the script. So I think we made a journey of forgetting the script during the shooting, but to come back there during the editing, because also depending on the scene, it was some scenes whenever they are playing or they are just chatting, that they are really improvising and they are really themselves. With some guys, like, you cannot say this expression because during the year 92 you wouldn't say this. But then also there are other scenes that they need to be very specific about the sentence they say. No, so in these moments, they didn't read the script. We were improvising, but we were guiding them very, very much. No, with Ruben Martinez, the coach, and sometimes I was giving them the lines during while we were shooting, while we were recording, but also. I mean, they had the talent to be able to repeat it with the same freshness, no?
Right.
So it was a mix. It was a mix. We were always trying to do whatever was the best, no? And if it was improvisation, it was improvisation. If it was better to read the line to them, we would do it. But what I have to say is that all of them, even though it was their first film, they are very talented, what I feel, but also, I mean, they are great actresses because they were, I mean, they really were able to modulate their emotions and to interpret it.
We're getting some comments from people watching who are agreeing at just how brilliant the casting is. So thank you for that, because yeah, you watch, you feel like you know the characters and that friendship group instantly. They just feel so fully formed as characters. One of my favorite scenes is when Brisa plays the song, I think it's Niños del Brasil, to the group of girls. And as we are watching the girls listening to a song for the first time, I mean, Brisa and Celia have already heard it, but the other girls haven't. And I thought it was really powerful for many reasons. But can you talk to us about how the role that music plays in the film?
Yeah, music was very important, and we made a very specific soundtrack because, well, the story is set in Zaragoza. Zaragoza is my hometown, and Zaragoza at the beginning of the 90s had like a boom, music boom. No, with we had a very, very famous music group that was also very well known in the whole world. I don't know if you remember them, that they were called Héroes del Silencio. And it was like the first Spanish group that was really making into, you know, like they were getting very, very, very well known abroad. And not only them, also Niños del Brasil, as you said, and Las Novias, Chimo Bayo. It was all music that was playing at that moment, and it was the music we were listening. And for example, in my case, my Brisa, in this sense, was my own brother and my own sister, because they are older than me, and they would come to our place with these tapes of music, and it's the music that we were listening with our uniform, no? And for me, it was very funny because sometimes we were walking through some areas in Zaragoza, and I remember gathering or hanging around with these heavy metal guys, no, and with punkies. It was like many different urban, how do you call it, urban tribes, and
Yeah.
and it was this strange mix of something very very conservative, no, these little girls in the uniform with the Catholic education, and then also this wish and this music that was asking and was dreaming about freedom and about living life, no?
Yeah, and it's also there's as you say, the freedom, and I loved seeing the mixtapes and sort of how Brisa is able to educate Celia through music and to show her this other musical world, but also how the film begins, how music, the part it plays at school, you know, the girls have their voices taken away, and well, I don't know about other people watching it, but I had to check the sound was on when the film started because the girls are miming. And so, you know, Celia really finds her voice in the film, which is lovely. And I love how music helps to tell that story. One question about, you've mentioned it's part autobiographical, and as someone who grew up around that time, but in England, I would say there are universal parts I love the detail, the painting your nails with Tipex, playing like Yo Nunca Nunca, I've never ever. I mean, these are brilliant, you know, lots of memories there. But you've mentioned your brother and sister. Have you, with regards to the story, what other specific parts are from your experience?
Yeah, all this universe of the film, of this city during the year 92 is exactly, I mean, it's, yeah, exactly taken from my memories. Actually, this scene you are mentioning, the first scene in which the girls are singing without real singing, not without voices, it's a true story, no, because this is what was happening at my school. And as I can see now, after releasing the film, it happened to many other people that I don't know why we were not allowed to sing, not to just to look like perfect girls, no, instead of just being kids singing in this school coro, choir.
Choir, yeah.
So I had a lot of memories of my childhood, and also the first idea, the first moment that I realized it was a story behind it. It was the moment that I found at my parents' place this religion notebook with an essay. That it's the essay that appears during the religious class about the sexuality in the service of God. No, and when I read it, when I was already 35 or something like this, I was shocked, no, that this was happening in 92. That's also why it's happening. I mean, the film is set there, and all this is taken from my memories. You know, the games we were playing, also the prejudice that we had. I remember that I mean, this feeling about judging girls because they didn't come from a normal, no, whatever, I mean, like a classic family. Also, it was almost impossible to talk about sexuality. And then there is one very important element in the film that to me, describes perfectly how was the society back then. And I don't know if people outside Spain really can see it, because it's very specific of our culture and of our history. But is this campaign of the condoms, of that Póntelo, Pónselo, that it's called, and it's in the front of the school. And this is that's also another true story. No, that it was a campaign, a publicity campaign from the Ministry of Health, to inform and to give tools to the people to be safe against AIDS and sexual illnesses. And it was forbidden. This campaign was forbidden 2 years later, because they consider, some part of the society considered that it was instead of being an informative campaign, it was a campaign that was animando, no, that was cheering, no, youngsters to have sex. So
I see. Encouraging people to, go, okay, right.
So I think this is the biggest contradiction in this at this time in this society. And I think this very specific ad of Póntelo, Pónselo, use it, or I don't know how is it translated in English. It is how society in the 92 was, and also is part of my memories and of this autobiographical part of the film.
I see. Okay, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just looking at some of the questions, and one question is about actors and the role of men in the film. Was it a conscious decision not to show really any men at all, give or take the odd doctor here or there?
No, it was not a conscious decision, but I'm sure it happened to be like this for a reason. And I think the biggest reason, because it's not the first time I answered to this question, and I think the biggest reason is because when I was this age, when I was 10, 11, 12, my world, this biographical, autobiographical part of the film, my world was very feminine. At the school, we didn't have any men teacher. It was all nuns or all female teachers, and we were all girls. Boys started to be in my school like 3 years after, 3 years behind me. So for me, beyond my brother and my father, all my world was totally feminine, and that, I think this is the biggest reason for it. But for example, I love the main characters that appears in the film. The doctor, one of the doctors is my brother, I have to say, and the other one, the boy in the disco.
Oh, he's so
Uh,
sweet.
He's very tender, and also I love him. He was we didn't find the perfect guy to play this role because he had to be like cute and not to feel it like something not nice. And one day we were in the office in pre-production, and the son of the makeup chief came, and it was him. I saw him and I was like, oh, this is the guy. It has to be Edu. So
Oh, that's brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant. Also, another question about the identity of Celia's father. People in the audience have had lots of debate about who was he, what sort of a person was he? Can you shed any light of what you think Celia's father, what sort of a character he was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I wanted with this is that the audience have the same information that Helia has during the whole film, no? So that's
Right.
also why I didn't want to make it more clear, or, I mean, it's not also that I wanted to make confusion about it, not at all, but what I wanted is to not to have more information than the one that Celia has. And when she goes to see the village of her mother, and she can see the education and the lack of love in her life coming from her family, is the moment she starts to understand her mother. And in this moment, in very small places, to be a single mother was still being like something to hide and something to be ashamed of. And this is what I wanted to portray in the film, that how still in the year 92, to be a single mother, I mean, you could be punished by society because of being a single mother. And that's what Celia sees. She doesn't have the real answer because the mom cannot even say it loud to her when she tries to talk to her. But she has the sense that her mother did something that was not right for society, no? And this is what I want the audience to feel.
There's a real tenderness between their relationship. I think that was beautifully brought to life, was Celia's, even though they may not communicate with words, such a gentleness between them, which was really, really lovely to see that.
And it was real also. In real life, Natalia and Andrea, it was, I mean, they had an amazing relationship. It was very beautiful to see them work.
There's another question about scene near the end between her mother and grandmother, described as very powerful and understated. Had you always imagined a scene like that, or did it emerge during the writing or filmmaking process, or had you got that idea from the beginning to have that scene?
Well, I really don't know when I had the idea, but I mean, in the film, the parts that are not autobiographical, they are also not, I mean, they are not invented. I didn't make them up. I made a lot of research, and I talked with a lot of people of my, I mean, mostly with friends, and friends that were living similar experiences, and also with some groups of single mothers, or that they were single mothers during the 90s. And also a radio program that I was listening in the national radio, that was about this kind of hospitality house for single mothers that was closed in the year 87. I mean, because Celia was supposed to be born in the year 1980, like myself.
Right. Right.
So this kind of hospitality houses existed in Spain until the year 87. And I started to make a research, and I realized that, well, it's not I realized, but I talked with them, and also I understood that the weight of this woman, that they had to run away from their houses because of these prejudices, but that the truth is that they were fighters and they were heroines because they were totally alone. It was for me very shocking and also very inspiring, no? And I wanted to Celia to make this journey, to see her mother as a person that is all the time, like working, that she's not taking care of her a lot, but then she discovers that she's a fighter and that she's somebody to be proud of.
Mm.
And I think in these cases where single mothers had, because I mean, of course, not all single mothers, no, there is so many situations at that time and nowadays and during history, but when families were not accepting this situation, it was very I mean, you can imagine, how hard it was for women to feel like the education they received made them believe to themselves that they didn't behave well. You know what?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the fact that it's such recent history, it's stories that need to be being told, because it's actually quite shocking that it's still so recent that, essentially some women will have had to choose between raising a child on her own and the reaction of the family. Necessary stories to tell. I just wanted to ask about the reaction that you've had from women who have seen the film, who may have seen their own story on screen, either Celia or Celia's mother. What sort of feedback have you had from women who've watched the film?
In general, the feedback has been amazing, and I was very even overwhelmed because I received a lot of text through Instagram and Twitter, and also we were doing some Q&As back in September, when the film was premiering in Spain, and I think the film is connecting with many people of my generation. Towards all these nostalgic elements you were mentioning, and also because I think we live a very specific situation, no? Like it was many of us studying in these Catholic schools that they were not private. It was concertado schools, no? That is half public and half funded, and I think people can recognize themselves very, very, very easily, or that's what they are telling me through their messages. And also, what is more shocking for me is that also older generations, but also younger generations, feel very close to Celia and very close to what Celia is living, no, and about how these contradictions in society while we were growing up, about not talking about our sexuality, and about growing up and becoming a teenager in these moments.
We'll round off by just asking finally, so what are you working on now? What projects are you working on? Can we look forward to seeing in the future from you?
Well, we are working in our next project. It's called La Maternal, and we are on the process of writing the script. And well, we already started also with the funding, And it's about, I also come back to teenagers, but it's a very different film. And it's about pregnancy and motherhood for teenagers, but the film it's bigger. Not only speaks about motherhood during teenage years. And well, right now I'm in the process of investigating and talking with a lot of women that were mothers when they were teenagers, and we are very excited. And hopefully we will shoot. We don't know if this summer. Hopefully, we have our fingers crossed.
And would that be set in the 1990s or set in present day?
In the present.
Right. Okay. Well, Pilar Palomero, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us about Las Niñas. It's such a lovely film and just such memorable characters and their stories. So thank you very much. So just to thank Institute Ramon Llull, and thank you to you for watching, and the team at Amplify as well. So yes, Pilar, thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you to the festival. Ciao, ciao.